Hey guys, it's Jack, it's FTMkingdom, it's Thursday and I'm finally back. I haven't had internet. Literally, we moved in, what was it? When was it? When did we move? On the 3rd of May. 3rd of May. And a week before that we were living with Kelly's parents, so obviously I couldn't do a video there. We have not had internet until now, so I have lots of weeks to catch up on. But just quickly, I'd like to let you all know that I have finally got a letter through from Charing Cross. Basically, they've apologised for being ridiculously slow with everything. And now I've got a form to fill out, which basically is going to put me on the waiting list for an appointment, which is almost good. These are the topics that I've missed. I'm not going to do the first one I missed was welcoming Finn into our channel with the dancing, but I'm unfortunately not going to do that. Right, next topic was lesbian community. How do you feel about it? Am I involved? When I identified as lesbian, I never really had that many lesbian friends. I was never really involved in the community because I've always felt like the lesbian kind of groups, it was quite cliquey and they weren't very nice and they were a bit bitchy and kind of the typical L word, but like they were trying to be on the L word and they just turned really bitchy and ended up having sex with everyone that was in that group. It just never kind of was something that appealed to me, having friends just because they're all lesbians as well. I was never really involved, so it's not something that I've found massively different. It's not like I've been involved and now I'm not because I'm trans. So I don't really have much to say on that. Next topic, feminism. Yes, I do identify as feminist and I try and practice it as much as possible. It's something that I've noticed the need for it a lot more since basically identifying as trans, as genderless, or being perceived as male. I remember being on a bus once with this guy who was 15, who also thought I was about 15 until I told him that no, I'm 20, and no, I do not go to school, so no, I do not want to hear about your GCSE results. And basically he was talking about skateboarding and he was like, yeah, like some of the girls are better than me and like really sucks when you get beaten by a girl on skateboarding. I was like, shut the fuck up. All I said to him was, maybe you should get better then. It's things like that, things that I've noticed about myself, about things that I feel like I don't have to do now I don't identify as female. Example, shaving, watching my weight as much, feeling bad for being fat, things like that, basically. So I think feminism is incredibly important, and once you kind of see it from, you see the female perspective and then you see the male perspective, it really is something that puts how important it is into perspective. Definitely all the feminism. How do I feel about people participating in feminism who aren't women? I think it's important for everyone to be a feminist. I think people who say otherwise either don't understand what feminism is or are just misogynistic bastards. Right, man crushes, famous. I've put here, who do I want to be / who do I want to be in? Let's see, I've had a lot of guy crushes. I identify as queer in my sexuality because I'm sexually attracted to some men. I've had sex with men before. But I think a lot of my man crushes, they are just kind of crushes in the sense that I want to be them as opposed to I want to be in them, or want them to be in me. But let's see, I want to be Troy Bolton, I'm not going to lie, because he sings and he's fantastic and he's gorgeous. I think when Lord of the Rings first came out, I had a massive crush on Legolas, but who didn't? Kelly's judging me. That's my girlfriend. She's judging me. Great. So I'm going to stop talking about this now. My dream job. Okay, I've always said that I wanted to be up on stage performing, doing musical theatre. Something I've always aspired to do. It's something that I honestly, I feel like I'd never be able to do. Because one, acting is an incredibly hard job to actually getting to, I'd have to have a lot of training with my voice, and dancing and things, and also, to be honest, it would be very hard to cast me, unless it was as a 12-year-old boy. So, yeah, after I did A-level drama, I thought that's kind of the end of my acting, because to have the idea of it being a career, I think it wouldn't have been physically possible for me to do that. Underwear. What style do I wear boxers. Yeah. Not like the proper loose ones that are kind of tight boxers. I don't really pack that much. In fact, I've probably packed about 2 or 3 times this year. But I have found loose boxes with packing. I went to Australia and I was wearing a pair of those. With loose boxes with the packer in, and it just felt like it was falling out all day and it was horrible. So yeah, I mean, if you're packing, pair of tight boxes. I do like the ones with the little holes in the front, because I like to rest my hand in there in a non-masturbatory way. Right, being outed and misgendered, how do I deal with it? A lot of the time I out myself. It depends what the situation is. Obviously at work, quite a few new people joined, and one of, like, okay, obviously you introduce yourself to a group of new people. That's kind of the thing we do at our work. And it wasn't, it's like, say, an interesting fact about yourself. It's not like I'm going, oh, by the way, I'm trans. Kind of making it obvious that I identify as male. And my work friends are really good at that, and like sometimes we introduce each other, and they constantly make sure they get at least one male pronoun in. I'm not sure if they're doing it on purpose, just because. But yeah, so they've kind of put my gender forward so people don't question it. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind being outed in like in the workplace, things like that, because everyone at work, to be honest, is incredibly respectful of my transition. One of my friends at work told me that day, he was like, yeah, when I first saw you, I thought you were a boy, and then I wasn't sure, I thought you were a girl, because I remember he misgendered me once. And then he asked one of my friends at work, you know, what gender I was, and my friend was like, oh, he's trans, you know, very respectful about it. I mean, obviously he didn't have to say that I was trans, but I don't think he kind of thought it would be an issue, because I talk about it all the time. I mean, like, yeah, I'm not sure whether I make it obvious so people don't misgender me, or just because, you know, I want it to be something that people recognise about me, or something, if that makes sense, or just something I like talking about. But yeah, I mean, if I was outed by someone who I didn't feel respected my transition, then that's when I'd be angry, because it would feel like they were doing it to say, look at that person's trans, oh my god, lol, kind of thing, or to gauge someone else's reaction, something like that. Also, when my family are down, they still misgender me, still, it's fun. So, you know, I hate going out with them, because, you know, if they gender me when I'm out, then someone's automatically gonna gender me incorrectly. So yeah, how do I deal with it? Getting misgendered sucks. It really sucks. I just don't see why people would if they're unsure about my gender, I don't see why someone would then call me a girl. Like, I don't understand why people feel the need to box people in 2 categories and that's it. If you're unsure about someone's gender, don't use one. It's really as simple as that. So yeah, how do I deal with it? Sometimes I have good days, sometimes I have bad days, sometimes I just brush it off. Sometimes I cry and want to punch things, and it's horrible, but it's something that's getting better over time, basically. Let's see. Last one. My attitude towards the LGBT community. Do I feel part of it or excluded? And are trans people associated? And is it helpful that trans people are associated? Let's see. I have noticed that there are a lot of queer people who are very uneducated about trans issues. And I was when I identified as a lesbian, because it was something that I wanted to be educated about, but it was nothing that I felt needed to be educated about, so it wasn't really, you know, something that I thought that I was being incorrect about, if that makes sense. You know, I think the way that the ignorance that you know, gay, lesbian, bisexual people have about trans people is the same kind of ignorance that they get from straight people. I think it's important that trans people are included into that, because, you know, being you know, a lot of lesbians, a lot of gay men, they, I guess, challenge gender stereotypes, and essentially that's something that obviously not necessarily binary trans people do, but trans people who don't identify as binary, you know, non-binary trans people, that's what they do as well. So it's something that's important. I don't think that sexuality is necessarily just down to sexuality. I mean, some people who identify as lesbians, it's more than a sexuality to them. It's how they dress, it's how they act. I know I was the same when I identified as lesbian, so I think it's important that trans people are included into that, because obviously, you know, it's not just about the sexuality. And also, obviously, with things like same-sex marriage, you know, two trans people, one trans person and a cis person in a heterosexual couple wouldn't be allowed to get married unless said trans person's gender marker changed. Do you know what I mean? I think it's definitely an important thing to be involved in the same community, because a lot of it encompasses the same thing. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to say, because this video is almost 12 minutes long, but I'm incredibly happy to be back. I shall be continuing to make weekly videos, and so I'll see you all next week. Bye guys.